Good morning. Good morning, Ryan. Hope everybody's doing well this morning. At work last night, so I didn't get to watch the Monday Night Football game last night, but I kind of watched the highlight reel. My gosh, what a game! I can't even be mad about losing. I can't. When you lose 54-51, I can't even be mad. It's insane. Morning, Rodney. Morning, Mike. Welcome to the stream this morning, guys. We're going to do the first Tutorial Tuesday. I'll wait for some people to show up. Morning, Ben. Wait for some people to show up so that I'm not doing the tutorial for 4 people. Morning, Ed. Well, as the title says, it's Tutorial Tuesday. This will be the first one of those. I am going to show you today how to make print-in-place hinges. For me, in my design process, being able to make a print-in-place hinge was a total game changer. So, that being said, I want to show you guys how to do it. And it's not hard, so I don't think this is going to be an exceptionally long tutorial. But I figure I'll stick to one simple tutorial every Tuesday and try to keep it, a relatively short and easy one. And then we'll just hang out and chat afterwards. For a little while. I don't know. Some of you saw and popped in on it. I tested running a Google Hangout through YouTube using OBS, and the test was successful. So I know how to do that now. So that is going to allow me to do some things in the future that I plan on doing. Bringing some other designers in to share their knowledge and experience with you guys, as well as bring in some people who are learning and have questions, so that they can talk with me one-on-one, and I can maybe help guide them through it. So yeah, if you're in either one of those categories, if you are somebody who knows Blender and wants to share your experiences and abilities with my audience, or if you're a beginner who is trying to do something and maybe having a hard time, reach out to me on Twitter My Twitter handle is up above there. Reach out to me on Twitter. You can send me a DM and let me know that you'd like to come on the stream. I think I'm going to save those for Thursdays. So if I have somebody lined up to do that, I will do a Google Hangout style stream on Thursdays when I have people lined up to do it, and we'll get them on. Morning, Roy. So that's the plan. But if I don't have anybody reach out to me beforehand, I'm not going to do this like a just open Hangout stream, or maybe I will once in a while, but I'm not going to do that on a regular basis. It's just going to be if I find a designer who wants to come on and share their knowledge and experience with you guys, or somebody who needs some help, and we'll do a Hangout style stream then. Bring people in, and you guys can be right there along with us. So you pulled a Brian. So yeah, we're gonna get Tutorial Tuesday kicked off here in just a minute. I think we got some people in here now, so we'll go over to the screen share and we'll open Blender. All right, so with Blender, let me move this over here. Hold on, get this over on my other screen. When you open Blender, this is what you're faced with. Now I'm going to run a script real quick so that I can share my my key presses with you guys. Run script. And really, Joseph, you picked now to be needy? You haven't needed anything from me all morning. But now that I start streaming, you're going to be needy. Okay, I see how it is. All right. My chat pulled up where I can see it. I have screencast keys on. Blender is open. Yeah. Ignores me the whole time until it's not time for puppy attention. And now he wants puppy attention. All right, he wants to say hi, maybe. Come here. Say good morning. Good morning. Yes. Okay. Daddy loves. Yes, Daddy loves. Okay. I know. Okay. All right, so we have the Blender start screen up. I've enabled screencast keys so you guys can see what I'm doing. Good morning, Don. I will try to pay attention to the chat, but now that we got this open, it may be a little harder. I want to share with you guys real quick, maybe some of you guys that are just getting started in Blender, a user preference and a couple add-ons that are going to make life easier. Just because of the nature of most programs, most programs you click with your left mouse button to do stuff. Blender by default, for some reason, is just the opposite of that. You can change that. In the user preferences, you go to input, and I think it's input. Hold on. Is it an input? Oh yeah, there it is. Input. So over here, select with, by default is right. If you click over here to say left and save your user settings, your life will be a lot easier. Also, the two add-ons that I recommend, since we're doing stuff for 3D printing, if you just, in a search, you type in 3D print, you'll see Mesh 3D Print Toolbox. Check that so that you will install that, because that's how you're going to check to see, make sure your stuff is manifold, And then the other thing that will be valuable that is free is Bool tools. So if you just type in Bool, you'll see Object Bool Tool. Check that one. So those two add-ons you'll want. I think most people are going to want, select with left. Save your user settings, and you'll have the two add-ons that are invaluable to me. Good morning, D. Good morning, Minnesota Maker. So those two add-ons are invaluable. Selecting with a left mouse click is just going to make things so much more natural and intuitive in the program. So I'll probably touch on that on several of these Tutorial Tuesdays, just because I know a lot of people that are going to tune in to watch this later on are going to tune in to watch it from a total beginner's standpoint. So I will probably cover those things quickly, because if you're doing 3D modeling for 3D printing, you'll want to make sure your meshes are manifold before you export your STLs. And Bool tools will just save you some headache, because Boolean operators are they're not hard, but they're less intuitive without Bool tools. I purchased an add-on that I recommend if you want to get into this seriously, called HardOps, which makes Boolean operators way more intuitive. I mean, they're just downright simple. But it's not a requirement. You can do everything that Bool tools does with, or everything that HardOps does with a combination of stuff that's already built into Blender with Bool tools and things like that. But it's a little bit more drawn out of a process. All right, so we've got our beginner cube on the screen, but I'm not going to use that. The perspective view, you'll notice we've got this the like depth of field thing going on, where the cube isn't a normal cube. It looks closer to the screen, just like my hand going closer to the camera. If you hit 5 on your number pad key, that turns that off, so that, which I recommend doing whenever you're designing stuff, because having this view is more useful for animation, and like if you were doing rendering a scene to be like a still image or something like that, that's more useful there. But as far as designing like functional things, hitting number pad 5 and going into this view is more natural. It turns off perspective. All right, so for this, I'm not going to use a cube. So I'm going to delete the cube. I'm going to go create. Good morning, Brian. I'm going to create a cylinder, which I'm not going to worry about scaling right now. You can scale stuff later. So hit tab to go into edit mode. Z will take you into wireframe view. And starting with the cylinder, and I'm going to delete half of the vertices. All right. I'm going to go into face select. I'm going to select these two faces, or I mean these two edges rather, edge select mode. And I'm going to hit F to create a face. Now while holding the Alt key, I'm going to select that edge, which as you can see, it highlighted the whole thing here, all the way around. I'm going to hit F to make a face on that. Again, holding the Alt key, select that edge, and F to make a face. All right. So we're going to make a functional print in place hinge today. I'm going to select that face and hit E to extrude it. I'm going to select these two faces. Hit E to extrude. I'm going to go about like that. Then hit E to extrude again, about like that. And then I'm going to select these faces E to extrude. What I'm doing right now is building the basic structure of the part that's going to move. Now I'm going to tab back out of edit mode, back into create. Actually, I am going to need a cube. All right. So hitting number pad 1, going to go to the side view here. Close that up a little bit. Tab into edit. Back into face select. Wait a minute. Let me undo that. Just move the whole thing down here. All right. We're going to extrude up until we're just past the top of the hinge here. Extrude up again. Select these two faces. We're going to extrude them out just a little ways here, like this. Which, of course, you can model the hinge in whatever shape you want. This is just going to show you the basic functionality of the hinge. If you need it to be, you know, aesthetically different, not a problem. Pretty easy to do. All right. We're going to scale this whole thing out along the Y axis a little bit because we want the part that the pin is going to go in a little bit wider than that. So there we have our basic shape of our hinge. Now, it doesn't have a pin yet. So now we're going to do that. Add a cylinder. I'm going to go into top view, hit Z to go into wireframe. We're going to scale it down a little bit, like that. Actually, wait. No, we're not. Because I need to make two of these. One is going to be the hole the pins go in, and the other is going to be the actual pin. So we're going to make the hole the pins are going in first. So for that, you want to embed that into the part, which actually I probably need to make this thicker. So I'm going to edit this real quick. Select these and these. I'm going to scale them out along the Z. So I hit S to scale, Z to constrain it to the Z axis, and make that a little bit thicker. All right, it's thick enough. All right, go back to our cylinder here. I'm going to select the top and drag it up about there. I'm just eyeballing all this. If you need accurate measurements on stuff, there is another add-on you can download called Measure It, which allows you to measure between two vertices. Yeah, there's a lot hinging on this design, Brian. You never fail with the puns, man. You never do. Okay. So, all right, that's going to be it's going to eventually be the hole that the hinge pin inserts into. But first, we're going to copy it by hitting Shift D and just going to hit enter where it's at. That makes it an exact copy of that. Now we're going to scale it down and just eyeballing in here, because you're going to need a little clearance. So you can see there we have clearance this way. Just make sure we have clearance this way. We actually have probably too much clearance this way. So I'm going to take and scale or move that, slide that up a little bit. Looks like we got enough room down there. All right. So I'm just eyeballing it. You know, it's nothing real precise. You can be as precise as you want to be. I've just kind of learned over time what works and what doesn't. And believe it or not, we're almost there. So we're going to select our large cylinder, and we're going to select the piece we want to cut out. And then this is where Bool Tools is going to come in handy, because I said it makes things easier. We're going to do a difference. So what did that do? You might be asking. Well, just for the sake of right now, which it's always a good habit to get into as well, to name your parts as you're going. So I have not done that, but naming stuff over here, you can see the one that's highlighted right now is cylinder. You know, say we were doing this for a door hinge. This part would obviously be the door, so I'm going to call it door. And I got caps lock on. That's great. Door. And then select that piece, and that would be the body of the vehicle, so we'll call it body. So say we were designing this and cutting this in, or adding this into a vehicle, then we would know what we were working with. So we have the body and the door. So now if I hide door and I hide the copy of the cylinder, you can see that Boolean operator cut a hole in the body. Now as I go, I kind of like to check as I go. Okay, because sometimes a Boolean operator will create a non-manifold edge. And if it would have created a non-manifold edge, you got to fix that, and I'll save that for if we run into it today. I'll show you today. If we don't run into it today, that'll be saved for a later date. I will have to intentionally create one ahead of time that has some problems, and then maybe that'll be another tutorial Tuesday. I'll show you how to fix those problems. All right, so we're going to bring back door. We're going to bring back the cylinder. All right, so we have now the body part of the hinge is ready to go. We need to make the door part of the hinge ready to go. So we're going to select the part that would be the door of the vehicle and the cylinder. Which it doesn't matter when you're doing a union, when you're merging two parts together, it doesn't really matter which part you select first. When you are doing a difference, it matters which part you select first. So if you notice, when I did the difference, I selected the cylinder first and then the body. Because then when you click difference, it's going to remove the selected object from the active object. The active object is the last one you clicked on. Good morning, John. I know you're not here, but I appreciate you not being here. All right, so we're going to select the cylinder. We're going to select what the would-be door. We're going to go back up to Tools, and down here to Bool Tools, and we are going to click Union. Now what that did is that made those two parts one part. It merged them together. So now we have this, if we hide it, is just one piece. Take this, hit H to hide it. You can see now that is one piece. And that, I mean, that's pretty much it. I know I told you it was going to be simple and quick. You now have a hinge. If you print this in place, if you were to take and print this just like this, now of course this one's, right now this one's scaled humongous. But you scale it down, it'll be fine. You take and print this in place. The orientation you'll want to print it in is with the bottom part on the build plate. You'll want, so that as the printer goes up the Z-axis, it'll print the cylinder. And you'll want to turn supports on, because the supports are going to actually hold this and keep the pin from fusing itself to the body. And then you'll just have to carefully, with some needle nose pliers, pull the supports out, because it'll create a little bit of a support bridge in here. So you just kind of carefully peel that out, and when you do, you've got a functional hinge. And I know if Roy Holly is still here, he can attest to the fact that this is the same process I used for the door hinge on the Jeep, and as you can see, it functions just great. It was a little bit different because I designed these to be removable. That's the same process. So when I printed the door in this orientation here. So that way, as it comes up in the Z, it prints the pin in a much more accurate manner, because if you have the pin laying down this way, you're going to have resolution issues in the shape. It won't be as perfectly circular. If you print it this way, it'll be perfectly circular, so will the hole, and then you have a good functioning hinge. So in this tutorial this morning, I showed you exactly how I make hinges. And I mean, it's nothing fancy. It's nothing, you know, it's not difficult. It's not difficult here in just a few minutes. I mean, if I weren't explaining this as I go and you know, going and explaining step by step how I do this, I could literally do this in 5 minutes. Morning, Joe. So yeah, if you ever need to design a hinge in Blender and that style of hinge, you now have an instruction manual to come back and watch, and it's not hard. And after you do it once or twice, you will have the hang of it, and you will just be knocking them out like that. Like I said, think about print orientation when you do hinges, because you don't want to print it, you know, as tempting as it would be, because it would be much quicker. Because printing it, you know, as one piece with the door like this, that was a pretty tall skinny print. So it was, you know, bed adhesion and stuff like that can become a little bit of an issue, and it would be tempting to print it in this orientation here, but you would lose that perfect roundness of the hinge. So avoid that temptation. Print it in this orientation right here, and your pin will come out nice and round. And when you pull the supports, that will be, I mean, very minute supports that will be built in between the two pieces. But when you pull those out, and they usually come out pretty easy. If they don't come out easy, you've probably got something that needs some attention on your machine as far as supports, or on your slicer. Once you get those out of there, and you kind of break it loose a little bit, it works well. They work very well. So that pretty much wraps up Tutorial Tuesday. I mean, the tutorial part of Tutorial Tuesday. I showed you guys how to make a hinge. It's, you know, I made 4 quick, basic, simple shapes, and using a couple Boolean operators, I cut the hole out of the body and then made the pin that goes in the hole. And so again, it's a large cylinder to be the hole. Make that one first, then scale it down. Make sure its vertices are lining up where you want it for the tolerances that you want, and then that will be your pin that goes in the hole. And then use a Boolean operator to cut the large cylinder out of one side, and then a Boolean operator to merge the pin to the other side. And you have a hinge. So now, if I were to print this, you can see it would print, but it would leave a gap right there, and supports that it would place inside. The only support you got to kind of break loose, since it will create a little bit of support material in here in this little gap. But when you carefully, after you remove the outside support material, carefully give a little bit of pressure, it'll snap that loose, and then your hinge is golden. It works great. Well, it's my belief, Roy, that anyone can do it, and it's just a matter of knowing how. And you know, I possess no engineering degree. I'm not, you know, a genius by any means. I just, you know, I reverse engineer stuff. That's kind of, you know, and I try to think of things. I try to think of a complex object like, you know, like this in simple terms. A complex object is made up of multiple simple pieces. And if you can break that down in your head as far as what simple pieces are actually needed, then it becomes much less daunting. And then make those simple objects work together to create a complex object. That's true as well. I was showing, the way I showed this today was simply the way that I'm doing it in the bodies of these vehicles, but yeah, Brian, you're right. If you cut the hole all the way through, and what he's talking about is, say you designed it so that this was the bottom and you actually had the open hole on the bottom, then you could actually clean up the little bit of support on the bottom as well, and peel it out. But I haven't had a problem doing it, you know, this way. And in fact, if you took and made this piece, if you were just trying to print something that just hinged in the middle and it was going to be the same height on both sides, if you take this piece and you were to extrude it down level with the bottom there, there's too much clearance there. If you took and extruded that all the way to the bottom there, and say you made, as Brian was suggesting, the hole go all the way through, then you could actually print this without support at all. If you made the hole go all the way through and the pin go all the way to the bottom. So you could do that as well. Absolutely. It just depends on what the functionality of your hinge is. That's why I said there are many different ways of doing this aesthetically, and but the basic functional principle is the same. So the basic functional principle is your two objects that you're wanting to hinge together, you're going to create two cylinders, a bigger one and a smaller one, and just leave a little tolerance around them. You're going to use the bigger one to cut the hole in one object and the smaller one to fuse to the other object to make the pin. Morning, Chris Riley. Doing pretty good, man. You know, today is a much needed day off. And right now, as it stands right now, I'm going to have Thursday off too, because the place that I play on Thursdays, the stage, I play on the rooftop at the stage on Thursdays, and they're not going to open the rooftop on Thanksgiving. So, but he did say, because I'm losing a shift without it being any fault of mine, I'm first in line if somebody else cancels or calls out. So, I mean, I could pick up a show between now and then. Right now, I have Thursday off as well. So, yeah, that's yeah, that pretty much concludes it right there. Yeah, but yeah, Brian is right. Which that's painful to say, isn't it? Ooh, Brian is right. If your object ended right here, you know, if that was the bottom of your object, you could cut the hole all the way through and then let your pin run all the way through too. Yeah, Thanksgiving off isn't necessarily a bad thing. I mean, you know, it's I don't get paid holidays like people with quote unquote real jobs, you know. So if I'm not working, I'm not getting paid. But that's the life I chose. But yeah, this right here would work, and you would totally be able to swing this piece along that joint we created there. And that same principle can be used, you know, on many different things. But you guys get the basic idea. You know what? I didn't check. Maybe we have one that we get to fix. Let's find out. Let's go to the 3D printing toolbox. Click check all. Nope. Non-manifold edges are 0. We're good. I'm going to save one of these at one point, that because sometimes a Boolean operator will create a non-manifold edge. And so I'm going to try to create a non-manifold edge that's caused by a Boolean operator, and then save that file at that point so that I can show you guys, if you run into that, how to fix a non-manifold edge problem. Hey, Derek. So yeah, you can recall this one anytime that you this video anytime that you in your design process that you need to make a hinge. And like I said, always keep print orientation under consideration when you're designing a hinge. Because if you tried to print it flat or at an angle or something like that, it will work. I've done it before. It's more prone to problems. If you can print it straight up and down, that's the best situation. Now, say you were making a door for something that was going to be angled like this. And if you were printing it all in one piece, you would have to print it at an angle. You can give it a try. You can try it that way. Another option would be to do what I did with the doors on the Jeep. Now, these were made removable for a different reason. You could make a removable hinge where one side is just a pin that tabs into a slot, and print it as a separate piece. That way you can print it in that upright orientation. And then after you get it off the print bed, you can just tab it in place. And that's what I did on the Jeep. There's a slot here that those tab into. which Roy Holley is the reason these doors are removable, because they weren't originally. But he expressed the desire when he wanted to print it, and when he wanted to print it, he wanted his Jeep to be door optional. Kind of like the real Jeeps are, where you can take the doors off. So Roy Holley was responsible for that design decision. So I went back and designed it in a way that made the doors removable. So that wraps up the tutorial portion of the stream. I showed you guys how to do it. You can go back and watch it. That's why I wanted to do it at the front side of the stream, so that if you guys want to come back and watch this later, because you're wanting to do it, I wanted it to be early enough in the stream that you didn't have to sit through a whole bunch of stuff before it got to the tutorial. So that's what I'm going to try to do with Tutorial Tuesdays. I'm going to come up with little tutorials like this. We'll run it at the first part of the video. So yeah, if this helped you out, or anybody who's watching this in the future, if this helped you out, please, hit the thumbs up, subscribe, all that good kind of stuff, to keep seeing this kind of content, because I want to help you guys out. I want you guys to all become designers like me, because I don't, I'm not a professional. I'm not a professional. I do this because I enjoy doing it. And a professional, somebody who's more masterful at Blender, would probably laugh at my processes. They really would. But I'm showing you that even somebody without proper training, without experience, without loads of experience, can do this stuff. It's not that hard. I don't play anything on TV. I'd like to. I've considered giving acting a whirl. I mean, 28 years in the music business, and being on stage is just, it's acting. I'm playing Wagon Wheel for my third time today, in one day, and I'm acting like I'm still enjoying playing Wagon Wheel for the third time today. No Wagon Wheel. Ah. You should, Brian. You should. We would show up, man. We would. We'd show up and we'd hang out with you. Good morning, Matt, aka Jake. So yeah, I figure with these tutorials, I will show you the things that have made my designs possible. And print and place hinges are one of those major game changers for me. So some other topics I will cover throughout will be functional wheels and things like that. So we will slowly but surely, I will teach you all of my secrets. My secrets will not be secret anymore. Because again, my goal is to empower you guys to do this stuff. Show you how I do it, and then maybe, you guys will learn a better way yourselves along the way, but at least you'll have a foundation to start with. I hope you guys learned something today. And the other goal is a lot of people that they're interested in designing, but for them, these programs look, they don't know where to start. It's a very daunting thing to open it up for the first time and have no idea what you're doing, and you're staring at the screen and you're looking at this little cube in the middle of the screen. You're going, great, now what? That's what I'm here for, is to show you now what. So we started with that today. We started with that starting screen, and I, we made a hinge, and it was easy. My dog wants attention again. Can I start over? Well, you can go back and watch it later. That's why I did it at the beginning of the video, so that it'd be easy for you guys to just go back and watch the first, what was it, about 30 minutes of the video, about the first 30 minutes, and we were done. And I explained the process step by step. We did screen cap keys so you guys could see the keys that I was pressing. If you need to hit the pause button when those screen caps pop up, you can. My dog is being needy again. Why are you being so needy? What do you want? So yeah, that's all there is to it. Thanks, Mike. You know, I don't even think you need 30 minutes for getting started in Blender. I did do a Blender Basics video way back. Was that? It was like episode 5 or 6. Episode 5 or 6, we did a Blender Basics video, and it was showing people how to do the absolute basics, and that was just manipulating vertices and learning how to extrude stuff and things like that. So you can go back and watch that one for my take on the very, very beginner's crash course of this is how you manipulate vertices and extrude stuff, and the basic foundation of Blender. So yeah, go back and watch. I gotta look back and remember myself whether it was episode 5 or 6. It was somewhere around there. So it was a while back. But with the tactics that I show you there, and then all these little tutorials, you'll know everything that I know. And then it's just a matter of putting it to practical use. And once again, since you're doing this for 3D printing, the 3D Print Toolbox add-on is an absolute necessity so that you can check for non-manifold edges. And the I guess I could do that too. I could go back to my channel and see. And post a link. Videos. Yeah, episode 5. Episode 5. Let's chat. There. That's a link to episode 5 where we didn't make anything. I just made a nonsensical object. But it was to just show the basic maneuvers in Blender, you know, extruding things and selecting vertices and edges and faces and what the difference is between them. And if you can manipulate vertices and extrude, you can do just about anything. And then Boolean operators. So if you know how to manipulate vertices in the X, Y, and Z, how to extrude faces, and Boolean operators to merge objects or cut objects apart or cut objects out of another object, you can do anything. I mean, you really can. Those are the most basic moves that will allow you to do absolutely anything. Where you start getting more complicated is when you start getting into adding modifiers, array modifiers, and that sort of thing. The mirror modifier is also another one that is very handy, which I guess I can show you real quick and dirty what that is. Ring cuts are another one. Control R, so ring cut. It'll create a cut along whatever axis you have chosen, and it'll cut across a face, and it'll continue all the way around the object as long as the faces are not an n-gon. An n-gon is any face with more than 4 sides or less than 4 sides. Basically, for it not to be an n-gon, it needs 4 sides in Blender. And that ring cut will continue itself all the way around the object. And then once you make the ring cut, you can slide it like that. I didn't want a ring cut there, but just to show you. Control R to make a ring cut. See how that continues all the way around? And if you hit enter twice, it'll stay right in the center. Or if you were cutting something into more than 2 parts, you scroll your mouse wheel up, you cut it into 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Make ring cuts as many as you need. Back down to 1. Whoop. I wanted 1. So, with the mirror modifier, you can select all the vertices on this half, and we can delete them. Delete those vertices. And then whenever you go back, oh, I needed to, sorry, forgot something. Or did it not continue through there? It did not. It's because I have an n-gon. Aha. Well, I would have needed to slice that beforehand. Okay, because I have an n-gon now because this face here has more than 4 sides because of all of the things when I made the Boolean operator. See, Boolean operators can mess things up too. So let me show you. We're just going to make a new object. Oh, wait a minute. Tab out of edit mode. Make a cube. Do a ring cut around the center of that. Then select half the vertices and delete them. See there? Cut that in half. And then if we go to modifiers, add a modifier, add a mirror modifier. We want to mirror it along the Y, not the X. Now, you're only editing one side. But the changes you're making apply to both sides at the same time. I'll show you what I mean. If I extrude this, notice how it's happening on the other side too. So mirror modifiers are nice whenever you're making a fully symmetrical object. Just from the get-go, cut it in half and do a mirror modifier. That way everything is symmetrical, and at the end of it, before you export your STL, you'll apply your modifier. Gotta get out of edit mode. Apply your modifier, which will make it permanent. When you apply the modifier, it's now permanently done. But until you apply it, it's a non-destructive form. Well, it is, and it's probably largely, Chris, because it is an open source 3D modeling software. And you know, talking about being code-ish, the screencast keys thing, they removed it from the program, but because everything is open source, you can go find the script for screencast keys, like I did there. There's the script for screencast keys. You can open it in the text editor within Blender and run the script right from Blender, which will add it back into your instance of Blender. So, talking about code, if you know, I believe this is Python. If you know Python coding, you can actually code your own add-ons and scripts that you can run in Blender. So, yeah. That was how I put screencast keys back in there. Without that, I wouldn't have this right here, the screencast keys. Yeah, open source is wonderful. Which, if you really get into Blender, and if you start using Blender for some form of income and livelihood, I recommend contributing to the project. They take monetary contributions from outside people. If it's something that's helpful to you, it's like if you swear by Octoprint and you use it a lot, you should probably consider being a Patreon of Octoprint or Marlin, or the things that are the foundations of 3D printing that we all use. It's it's just one of those things. If you're in a position to do so, I'm not saying if you're broke and you're hard up for every single dollar that you can make, but if you can spare it, you should probably consider throwing $1 a month to, and you use Octoprint a lot, you should probably consider throwing $1 a month to the person who created it and support them, because they give it to us freely. So yeah, at this point, we're just kind of hanging out and chatting. The tutorial that I set out to do today was, in my opinion, a successful one. I hope you guys feel so as well. I hope you learned something. Now it's just kind of hanging out. And if you guys have specific questions about something, I'll answer them if I know how. I wish I could figure out how to answer some of the questions I have about printer problems I'm having right now. It's a process. I'll get them all figured out. A lot of it's in a holding pattern until I get parts. So. Banggood is bothering you today. What is Banggood bothering you? I mean, are they? Is it because they have something you want to buy and you're tempted and you need your wife to lock up your wallet? Or are they reaching out to you wanting you to do something? Oh, wow. They sent you a no-name printer completely out of the blue, and they're like, review it now. I'll ship it back to you. Yeah, that's kind of... That's kind of shady in the fact of here, we're not going to reach any sort of agreement ahead of time. We're just going to send it to you, and now we're going to say, review it now. Review it now. Reviewing the GP one. Oh. You mean the POS one, D? Well, you never know. It could be a good printer. Who knows? But just out of the blue, and then You know, I think all of these Chinese 3D printing companies or retailers, I think they all need to employ a native English speaking liaison to deal with this sort of thing. You know, they need to find them somebody who is a native English speaker that maybe, you know, can help them put a better foot forward to their English speaking customer base. And for God's sakes, let them review your ad material before you put it up on your website. So we don't have most bestest stable printer anymore. Or all mental. That one the Tronxy on GearBest. That's the all mental 3D printer. I'm like, all mental. Right. Yeah, even if it was just a part-time person that they just sent, here's our ad. Suggest revisions. You know, let us know. Yeah, it was on GearBest. It was a Tronxy. I forget which Tronxy it was, but it was yeah, it was all mental. I'm like, nobody caught it because mental it doesn't ring up a problem on a spell checker because it's a word. But the person who wrote the ad obviously didn't know English very well to have went back, proofread it, and caught that their main description for the printer is an all mental 3D printer. Check this thing out. So it's an Ender 3 clone with a touch screen. Touchscreen support power resume filament runout detection intelligent leveling. It has one-star review. How would you say the X-Vico? The X-Vico Pioneer. The hotbed is glass printing platform. Its working voltage is 12 volt. So it's a 12 volt Ender 3 clone with a touchscreen. Easy to assemble, high precision, full metal modular design, detachable print platform, auto leveling. Auto leveling. See, I see no probes or BL touches or anything on this thing, so that's not auto leveling. It might have assisted bed leveling, where you just hit a button to take you to the next corner, but it's not auto leveling if there is no sensor or, you know, no inductive or touch sensor present. And that's things that if they would hire an English-speaking person to review their stuff, they could tell them. That's not auto-leveling. That's assisted leveling. Yeah, I could see where that would be a problem, Chris. I mean, I'm not saying that that I wouldn't review it, but I certainly wouldn't want them to be pressuring me to review something I didn't even know was coming. I mean, how do they know what, this time of year especially? How do they know you don't have a lot of stuff going on in your personal life right now and could be very, very busy, and you don't have time to review a machine? So you wouldn't have been open to reviewing one right now anyway, even if it was one that you did want to review, where you could have said to them ahead of time, look, it's the holidays right now. It's Thanksgiving's this week, and I'm busy. I got family stuff going on. I can get to it next week or 2 weeks from now or whatever. And if that's okay with you, yeah, sure. Just go ahead and send me the printer and I'll review it. But to just send you a printer out of the blue and say, review it now. What, Joseph? Dog. Yeah, so they want the review out in time for Black Friday, huh? Well, that should have been something that was agreed upon ahead of time. That's why there needs to be stuff in writing before anything is sent, Because also, what happens now if you do the review on the machine, you put it together, and what happens now if the machine is complete garbage and you can't get good prints out of it, and or if it doesn't print at all, something's completely broken, and you give it a bad review? Are they going to get mad that you gave it a bad review? Because there's one thing I absolutely know about Chris's basement is you're going to get Chris's absolute honest opinion of a printer. He will tell you everything he can see and knows about the printer, warts and all. Which is why I trust Chris Riley's reviews. I mean, I was totally interested in a Tronxy X5S for a long time until Chris reviewed it. Although I gotta say, I would still like to get my hands on the X5S 500. As torturous as that would be to myself, because I know I'm already having problems with printers, and that one's a problem waiting to happen. But it's 500 by 500 by 600. So that's why I'm watching. Was watching that printer that Walter's son-in-law was putting together yesterday before I had to go into work. I went to go back and watch the remainder of that stream to see how it was going. But a Hypercube kit for $700 on a 500 by 500 by 500, that looks pretty sweet if it prints well, if it works well, if it does what it's supposed to do. I don't know how far they got. I guess we'll find out on their next stream. Yeah, exactly, Brian. Yeah, that's exactly right. A proper review requires hours of print time, because you can't review a machine and say, I put it together, I printed, this is the first print, it looks great, let's do it. It's the greatest printer ever. Because then you would be a Dylan Kowalski video, not I put 1,000 hours of print time in this, and Here's the good prints I got. Here's the bad prints I got. Here's the problems I had with the machine. Here's the things that went well with the machine. That's a review. I got it out of the box. I put it together. The first print came out great. Buy this printer. Affiliate link below. That's a Dylan Kowalski video. I don't trust his reviews. And, I'm not trying to put Dylan down. He's probably an all right guy. He's just doing what he's got to do to get as many free printers as he can. I can't totally hate on the guy for that, but I'm not going to trust to spend my money from a review that was one print came out awesome. Well, I mean, it's possible, being that it's a 12-volt system and a cheap touchscreen. I'm doubting it. A cheap 2.4-inch touchscreen. I mean, 2.4 inches. We're 2.4-inch touchscreen. My fingers, I'm doubting, would be able to push the little buttons on the screen very well at that size. I mean, that's a tiny screen. 2.4 inch. That's like pushing buttons on a watch. We're gonna take you, Dad. What is your problem? You're driving me insane. Go occupy yourself. Go find something to do. Go. Or go lay down. Lay down. You're a pain. You're a cute pain, but you're a pain. Yes, you're a cute little pain. All right. Yeah, I mean, it could be, maybe the frame is great. Maybe the extruder is, maybe the extruder is better than the one on the Ender 3, and that would be a, selling point. You'd say that, while this printer is a competitor for the Ender 3, its print quality is about the same. The bed takes a little longer to heat up because it's 12 volt. Maybe, the bed won't reach as high a temperature because it's 12 volt. Those are things that are possible, but who knows until you put it together and put some time into it. And with Thanksgiving being Thursday, you don't have time to put 1,000 hours of print time into it. I prefer live unboxings and assembly. The reason for that is you see all the warts that go along with it. There's no hiding the fact that you opened it up and something was bent or broken or poorly packaged. While an edited video, you can, lay all the parts out on the table. You shoot just that and go, here's all the parts. And then you assemble it, and then you go, here it is assembled. The review doesn't show you, that type of review doesn't show you problems that may have came up during the build process. Problems that may have came up with their packaging. Because we're receiving an item that got shipped from, halfway around the world. If it's not packaged well, it's not likely to end up intact when it gets here. Yeah, I mean, you can't say, one print was awesome. This is the best printer ever. You can't do that. That's not honest. You can say, well, put together, here's a print. The first print came out well. We're going to have to put some time on it now to see if it continues to put out good prints. Or maybe it's a printer that doesn't hold itself together well after hours of use. It starts shaking itself to pieces or something. And, you know, or maybe it's, you know, like the Hooney H6 and it is impossible to make it print ever. You know, I don't know. Oh, absolutely. I would watch it, Ben. I would watch a live unboxing and build video unless I'm at work or, you know, spending time with the fam. Well, you're a likable guy, Ben. You should do more live stream stuff. Really. I mean, you're a guy that's easy to like. And it would come across well in live streams. It would, you know. So I would consider, you know, if I were you. There are some people whom I won't mention their names that are actually nicer people than what they come across in their streams. Um, and then there are some people, you know, but usually stream gives you a good sample size of how somebody really is. That's another thing I like about streams is you can kind of get a good idea of what kind of person you're hanging out with, what kind of person you're watching, um, because it's hard. It would be hard to be fake live for an extended period of time without being caught being fake. Stop it, Brian. Stop it. No, I'm not talking about you. No, it's a guy who I was wrong about, and I will admit that I was wrong. I won't say who it is because I don't want you all thinking that I'm saying he's a jerk. He came across as a jerk in the streams I had watched in the past, and then I got a chance to chat with him for a while, and turned out he was a really nice guy, and I went, wow, I was totally wrong. I thought he was kind of, you know, a jerk before, and now I realize I was wrong, but it's just the way he come across in his live streams. But, you know, that's what I said. Usually you get a good idea. I mean, there are exceptions to that rule. John, no, not you either. I won't say who it is. No, not you either, Ben. But you know, it was just sometimes I guess people I don't know they put on a certain personality or something for their live streams, and sometimes it comes across wrong or what. But you know, you get what you see with me. I am who I am, and take me or leave me, I suppose. You know, there are plenty of people who don't know how to take me, and it's okay. Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't, you know, I wouldn't be opposed to doing a printer review or two. Um, it would certainly have to be a printer company that would understand that I'm going to give them the layman's perspective of it, somebody who's still very new to the 3D printing market. I mean, I got my first 3D printer in April, and I've only had experience with cheap. I don't like the word cheap. Inexpensive machines, with inexpensive machines. So that being said, my level of expertise and my background knowledge is limited. But I would certainly be willing. I don't think anybody would want to send me one because I'm losing subscribers. I only have 149 now. I used to have I had 151 like a week ago. I lost 2. I only have 149 subscribers, so what company's going to send me something to review when only 149 people could potentially watch it? But I wouldn't be opposed. I would, and maybe when I do get my next or my first brand new printer, which I think is going to happen in the spring, I'll do a live unboxing and build and stuff. Even though it's a printer that's been reviewed to death. No, I'm thinking maybe some of the trolls I had in the past finally decided it wasn't worth their time anymore, which is fine by me. Thanks, John. Appreciate that, man. Sub again if you could. But yeah, no, I do what I do and I share it with you guys, and it just is what it is. If I end up with more subscribers down the road, great. If not, I'm gonna keep doing this anyway because I enjoy doing this. I enjoy hanging out with you guys, and I love this community. This community is awesome. I don't know if you guys saw Heather from 3D Pink Mafia put together a fundraiser for Garrett and Chelsea's dog who needed surgery, needed emergency surgery. And Heather put together a GoFundMe for it and raised the money for Garrett and Chelsea's dog to have the operation it needed, because this time of year, a $2,000 expense getting dropped on you like that out of the blue could devastate your entire holiday season, and make things absolutely miserable for months on end. So Heather spearheaded putting together a GoFundMe and reached out to the community, and I donated what I could. It wasn't much. I'll be the first to tell you, just straight up, I only donated $9. It was $10 including the $1 that went to GoFundMe itself. That's all I could afford to do right now because things are slowing down for me downtown. But I thought, this community has been so kind to me. I should do something and here for somebody else in the community who is in need. So Heather put that together, and I saw Joel Telling on the GoFundMe kicked in $500 of that $2,000, and Joel, of course, can make that back at just doing a live stream printer build. But again, that this time of year, and that's money he could have used for his family, but he was giving and opened up the pocketbook and helped Chelsea and Garrett's dog get the surgery it needed. So right, yeah, absolutely, Joe. I know you said it was what, $3,000 to get a tree cut down, and it's the wrong time of year to have expenses like that laid in your lap with the holidays coming up, Christmas and Thanksgiving. Let's not overlook Thanksgiving as far as expense. If you're one of the households that brings family together to it, There are people out there that they invite people over to their house and they cook for a bunch of people, and there is a significant expense in all that. So I'm assuming it all came down okay. Well, that's the reason stuff like that is expensive. Those guys have the expertise and the equipment to do it the right way and the safe way. And the insurance in case something goes wrong and it falls on your house and does $10,000 worth of damage, they have the insurance to cover that. If they make a mistake and break something. But yeah, this community is awesome. I watched them raise $2,000 in 3 days to help Garrett and Chelsea out. And Garrett and Chelsea, they're good people. They're good people. They deserved the help, and I'm glad they got it. And here's to a speedy recovery for their dog Riley. It's just so awesome to be part of a community that you see whenever somebody's hurting, whenever somebody's in need, they're there. Oh, you time lapsed it. Oh, very cool. Yeah. So you're gonna edit a video and put it on your Joe Paddock channel? The one where you put your paragliding videos? Cool. I didn't figure you'd put it on the D&D channel. Oh, absolutely, Mike. Which I don't remember if I told you good morning, but good morning. Because this community comes from so many different walks of life, so many different countries, nationalities, race, religion, creed, everything. But we all come together when the situation calls for it. Yeah, that'd be cool, Joe. I was available Friday, man. Last Friday. I was wide open. I'm sure you had stuff going on, though. I understand. They're just giving you a hard time. But yeah, yeah, this community is phenomenal. I mean, I've been I've been on the receiving end of the generosity of this community a few times, and I never asked for any of it, but I appreciate every bit of it. $375C, that is hot. Joe, it absolutely was our pleasure, man. I mean, anything to, because there's nothing we could do to fix the situation. All we could do is try to ease the burden a little bit, and if that's, if we can ease the burden in any way, that's what we're here for, man. Morning, Vince. 375C. Yeah, that's very hot. What sort of project you got coming up that you need to print peak for? I had one, John, but there was problems with it for some reason. My shipping address and stuff wasn't being populated in it right. I don't know if I was doing something wrong, and so I just took it down. It just and besides, the only thing that was on it was filament. Filaments I'd like to play with. And I'm like, no, I'll just get my own filament. Because the things that the other things that I was that I'm needing for the channel are things that are way too big for me to ask for or expect anybody else to do for me. An open air machine, so it even has to be an open air machine. Oh, yeah, it did work out eventually, Ryan. Which Ryan is he sent me the olive green filament, which I need to give like an official review of that filament, because that filament is fantastic. It is printed very, very well, and the tolerances have been very, very good on it. Well, yeah, I do need parts for my printer now, which some of those aren't big parts. Pneumatic fittings, and mostly the pneumatic fittings. And I'm still kicking around the idea of putting a Lurge board in the X1, just because it would mean designing a whole new case for it and printing that out. But when I get the S4 printing again, I can print the case in one piece for on the S4. I think it'd be interesting to put a Lurge board on it. Somebody was trying to get me to put a duet on it. I'm like, I don't know if I have twice as much in board and screen than what the printer cost new. It'd be kind of crazy. But I was thinking the Lurge board and the TMC drivers on it, the TMC at the 2100s. It's like $80 with the touchscreen. Yeah. The Lurge board it's got removable stepper drivers, so you can switch those out. But with the TMC 2100s and a touchscreen, is like $80 for the Lurge board. So, which is only like $35 more than Creality wants for just direct replacement board. So I'm like, it might make fun content for the channel to upgrade the X, or not the X1, the Ender 2, to upgrade the Ender 2 to a Lurge board, and design and build an enclosure for the board and the screen. And if I was going to do that, I'd build a enclosure that housed the power supply, the board, the screen, everything. And I think it'd be fun. I think it'd be interesting. I'd be the only guy I know out there with a Ender 2 with a Lurge board, and see if it printed well afterwards, And I guess if it didn't print well, I could always, order a stock board, put the stock board in it, and then the $80 Lurge board, unless the Lurge board itself was the reason it sucked, could go to another project down the road. So, I don't know. That's what I'm considering. But that ordering that's going to have to wait till after Christmas. It's going to have to wait till after Christmas. I got 3 kids and a grandkid to buy for. Which I thought when kids grew up, they got cheaper. When kids were full grown and out of the house, they get more expensive. Yeah, that's what I'd like to do is put that Lurge board on it with TMC 2100s, and then I would have a touch screen. That's a 32-bit controller in it. Touch screen, 32-bit controlled TMC 2100 driven Ender 2. And I'd have to wait to design the case and stuff for it until I had the board in hand so I could take measurements and everything. Unless I could find somebody's design out there on Thingiverse already and then modify it to my own needs. There's probably somebody that's got a Thingiverse case for the board and case for the screen and things like that, and I could take and hack those apart and put them into a new file to print a base for the Ender 2 that had this touch screen and the board and the power supply all mounted and under there. It might make the printer a little taller, but it'd be cool. I think it'd be fun, and I think it would make some interesting content for the channel. Well, it's not just a matter of wanting more expensive toys. They get more expensive day to day too. You know, because when your kids are like 10, 11, 12 years old and they ask you for a video game and you ain't got the money this week, you can say, or if you got the money but you don't really want to spend the money this week, you can say, no, not this week, maybe next week. Going without that video game for a week's not going to hurt you. But when your kid calls you and, Dad, I need $300. Why? Because the power company's going to turn the power off tomorrow. I can't say, well, you can just sit in the dark for a couple weeks. So yeah, I think that's what I'm gonna do, because I could spend $45 and just order a stock replacement board for the Ender 2 and put it in, and it would go right back to printing just the way it was, and it would be the easiest swap. It wouldn't require designing a new case and all that kind of stuff. But I think putting a Lurge board in there could make for some fun content, and in the end, I think it would make for a better printer. Right, Mike? Yeah. So I think after Christmas I'm going to order me a Lurge board with TMC 2100s on it and touchscreen and all that, because like I said, it's $80 something. It's not expensive. Not when the stock Creality replacement board for the Ender 2 is like $43.99. I think is what I found it for from Creality was $43.99. I'm like, if I spend $43.99 on a direct replacement board that has no memory and crappy stepper drivers that are soldered onto the board, I'm like, I might as well spend 36 more bucks and get something that in theory should be better. Ben Craig, you're always late, man. No. I'm kidding. How you doing, man? Is it cold up there? It's not freezing down here, but it was a little bit chilly this morning. It was like 35 when I woke up this morning. I think it's warmed up now. I think we're close to 40. No, but when I woke up this morning, we've been trying to use the heat as little as possible because we spend the majority of our time in only 3 rooms of the house, and so we've been, we keep the bedrooms closed up and keep them fairly warm, and the rest of the house we just kind of let it be what it's going to be. And then the makerspace is where I spend a lot of time. But if I need to heat up the makerspace, I just turn on some printers. It heats up this little room quick. Of course, right now I've only got one printer working. I don't know if the ANET A8 could heat up this room by itself. Well, I guess it could. Given the ANET's reputation, it could. It could heat up this whole house, but not in a good way. Hanging out in somebody's attic right now. But yeah, that's, future projects in mind, Lurge board. That's going to be a long, drawn out project because not only once I get the board do I got to design a new case to hold everything and print it. But I guess I could just kind of tack stuff together and get it working and get it moving and make sure it works before I design the case. Yeah, and it could make for some fun, interesting content. And then when it's done, I'll have a 150 by 150 by 200 printer that should print really well. It'd be interesting to replace the, while I was at it, to replace the extrusion for the Z height and make it like super tall or something. Well, not super tall. I'm not talking happy extruder, 1 meter tall or anything. But maybe make it like 300 millimeters tall. Because before it burned up, man, it was printing nice. It was printing really nice. And there's a lot of stuff that I can find to print that fit on the 150 by 150 bed. Wheels and tires for my vehicles, for instance, fit really nicely on a 150 by 150 bed. I can put all 4 wheels for my Jeep on a 150 by 150 bed all at the same time. And as slick as that thing was printing, God, I really hated when it went down because it was printing not so pretty. Well, Chris is in Kansas City and I'm in Clarksville, Tennessee. We're kind of far apart. I wish I could get Chris to come take a vacation, come down here and hang for a weekend, and I got a guest bed, man. You can crash here. All it costs you is your gas to get down here and back. We go hang out on Broadway at night and mess around with 3D printers in the day. Right, Ben? I got done saying earlier I don't get paid holidays and vacation, so right now I have no gig for Thursday because they're not opening the rooftop at the stage on Thanksgiving, and that's where my gig is at. There's 3 floors at the stage, and they're only going to open the first floor on Thanksgiving Day. Yeah, man, all it costs you is your gas to get down here and back. Or if you wanted to fly from KC to Nashville, I'd go pick you up at the airport. I got a guest bed. You can stay. It'll be a play date. We can play with 3D printers in the daytime and go play music at night. That's not Joey's bed. Joey's not allowed on up there, not unsupervised anyway. It's in where I used to do my streams from, where I used to have my printers, my upstairs, the bonus room up above the garage. We got a full-size bed up there, and it's got a half bath up there. So we wouldn't even have to come downstairs to go poop. Yeah, man, come on. You are welcome to come down and hang. Show you my modest little bedroom turned makerspace, because this was my daughter's bedroom that I'm in now. When she moved out, it became the makerspace, and it's got these two 4-foot by 2-foot shelves behind me that house all the printers. And I could use somebody more brilliant than me to make a couple of them print. Maybe after the holidays and stuff, I'll get over with and I order that Lurge board. You can come down here and we can do it as a guest spot, and you can teach me how to install a Lurge board in a or two. Because I'm going to be totally guessing when it comes to that. I'm just going to be ordering it and going, okay, let's plug this in here and see what happens. Okay, cool. Yeah, after the holidays and stuff get over with, like I said, I'll order that Lurge board, and then maybe after the first of the year we can drag you down here and we'll do a collaborative stream of installing a Lurge board in or two. Yeah, Brian. If you tell OBS to start streaming, no, it starts streaming. When you hit the start streaming button, it starts streaming. There's no additional button pop-ups or anything like that. When you hit start streaming, it streams. Are you going to bring me the first Snappy or the Snappy printed? Because I don't know if the Snappy printed will be worth having. But if anybody can make a Snappy print well, it's you, man. I haven't seen anybody do it yet. The Snappy or the cloned Snappy? Third Snappy. So the Snappy that I could print better with a 3D pen by hand. Yeah, Brian, just make sure you have clothes on. We don't want naked streaming. Naked streaming will get you in trouble. But yeah, yeah, man, that'd be cool. That'd be a lot of fun. Come down, hang out for a few days. The only thing I guess you'd have to share while you were here would be, well, the kitchen is a shared space, of course, and the and your showers or baths would have to happen in my what has been deemed not just the guest bathroom but my son's bathroom, because he's the only one that uses it, other than when we have guests here, for baths. But there's a toilet and a sink upstairs, so it's a pretty nice little setup, and my workout room's up there too. So we pump some iron. No, I do not have a basement. I do not have a basement. Tennessee is far too rocky, so there are almost, I won't say there aren't any, but there are almost no basements in Tennessee, because Tennessee's ground is far too rocky. You have to carve your way down into it to make a basement, and most people don't go through the expense. He naturally smells like PLA. Well, as long as he doesn't naturally smell like ABS, it's okay. But yeah, the soil here is so rocky that yeah, there's just no digging your way down for a basement, because you get more than just a few inches below the topsoil, and you start running into big rocks. The kind that you couldn't dig out of the ground, the kind that you'd have to cut your way down into. Right, Ben? Yeah, if he smells like resin, he's got issues. Especially since he doesn't have any resin printers. Right? Right, Mr. Veteran? Good old Rocky Top. Yeah. It even says in that song, ground's too rocky by far. Although we're at least in an area, being as far north and west in Tennessee as we are, that there is still a lot of good farmland out in here. But if you go much deeper than what you have to go to plant crops, there you start running into big rocks. But no, I've got a nice big bonus room upstairs. It's same size as a 2-car garage, because that's what it's built on top of. And there's a full size bed up there, and a little office up there with my old computer that still works. It just doesn't work well. But you could check email and that kind of stuff. And we got Wi-Fi in house. Good Wi-Fi, 300 gig up, 300 gig down, or 300 meg up rather, 300 meg down. So we have good internet here. Good internet and plenty of room. Come on. TVs all over the place, video game systems everywhere. Because my son is a video game fanatic, and I've even got all my old systems now. Most of them aren't hooked up anymore, but I've got them. We could hook them up, like NES, Super NES, Sega Genesis. I got the Sega Genesis with the Sega CD and the 32X. And let's see, I got Dreamcast, and I had an N64 I got an N64. I had a GameCube until my stepdaughter borrowed it and didn't return it. Well, and Chris could come visit his old printers. I have 3 of them here. 3 printers that used to be his are in this room. 3 out of the 5 printers I own used to be Chris's. Oh, there's definitely some musical talent in the 3D printing community. You know, Chris had a band for years and put out an album. It's a good album too. Makes me drive fast. 10 Ways to Euthanize a Fish. It's a good album. And then Joe Mike Terranella plays. He's a drummer, right? And Ben Craig can sing. Walter does a little singing. Apparently you're streaming. Well, I'm just about to wrap up, so everybody, when I wrap up here in a couple minutes, go hang out with Brian. Right? No, it holds up, man. It stands the test of time. It does. 10 Ways to Euthanize a Fish. I love it. Mr. Buttram plays trumpet. See, we could, we could throw down on some stuff. It might be an interesting fusion of sounds, though, because, I'm a country singer, and Chris is a rocker, and I think Joe Mike's into rock as well. And see, Ben Craig plays keyboard. Yeah, we could put it together. Anybody? Chris, do you play bass? Because I think Joe Mike plays drums. And then we need a lead guitar player. I think Jason Judge plays lead guitar, doesn't he? But speaking of which, I haven't seen him around. Has anybody seen Jason Judge around lately? 3D Matter Makers? I have not heard hide nor hair of him in months. Jake from State Farm. Matt plays guitar. True Tech plays guitar. They've been busy? Okay, well, because, I mean, he was streaming all the time and everybody's chats like every day for a long time, and then he just kind of vanished. Been too busy working on the dead hand stuff to hang out with the rest of us. Well, I hope it's going well for him. I hope he's moving some of those dead hands. I don't have one of those tumblers that the thing goes that goes in the thing, so I really don't have a use for one. But yeah, I hope it's going well for him. I haven't seen him around in a while. But yeah, he's a songwriter and accomplished musician as well, as put out albums. I got my copy directly from Chris. He sent it to me when he sent me my very first 3D printer, which is prominently displayed right there, the Tronxy X1, which right now is out of commission for the same reason the S4 is, because pneumatic coupler sucks. Jake from State Farm says he doesn't see you live, Brian. You sure you clicked public on the little drop down in the on YouTube side before you click start streaming? Because you can do private streams too. Yeah, the vehicle I had at the time, that I was driving at the time, had a CD player. Now my vehicle doesn't have a CD player. I traded that one in, and the new one we got doesn't have a CD player in it. All right, Chris says he's still on iTunes. How do I not have a supply of fittings on hand? I had never until this week had any fail. And then in the past like week, I had 2 printers go down for them. So when I order them, I'm going to order a bunch of extra. Right now, the plan is to order them from TH3D because supposedly his are good quality. And I'm going to order enough to replace every one that I've got with one of his, and order enough to have a spare set on hand for every printer I got. Every printer that has a Bowden tube. So then I will have I'm going to order 8 sets in total is the plan. Oh, I guess 9 because they come in 3 packs. So I'm going to order 3 3-packs of each end. Because I know they're different sizes on the extruder end than they are on the hot end. Okay, cool. Yeah, I just, like I said, I need to get some on. Like I said, the hot end is fine on all of mine so far, but it doesn't hurt to have some extras on hand. Where they keep failing is on the extruder side. That's where the S4 and the X1 have both failed on the extruder side. But what's weird is I can't get the tubing out of the one on the S4. It doesn't hold the tubing firmly. The tubing slides back and forth, but it won't come all the way out. And I can't get it all the way out. So I'm thinking I'm just going to take the pneumatic coupler off at both ends, replace the tube and the coupler, because I want to get away from the Capricorn XS tube anyway, because it's just too tight a tolerance. So I'm going to replace it. There was some Bowden tubing in the package you sent me when I bought the Tornado off you. So there's enough Bowden tubing in there to redo the Bowden tubing on the S4. So I'm going to, when I get the fittings, I'm just going to put new Bowden tube on new fittings and redo the S4 with standard white Bowden tube. Because all I print with is PLA anyway. I don't need any, high temp fancy stuff. And I print with cheap PLA, so there's going to be some out of tolerance issues that the Capricorn tube just hates. Yep, Sudden Blunt Trauma: 10 Ways to Euthanize a Fish. It's a good album. Like I said, it makes me drive too fast. So I can't listen to it while I'm driving anymore. The first time I listened to it, I popped it in the CD player and I was driving from here to Nashville to go to work. And I looked down and I was doing like 90 in a 70. I'm like, Chris is going to give me a ticket. His free CD is going to give me a ticket. So I had to slow down before I got caught. Yep. Chris is on iTunes. I'm on iTunes, Spotify, Google Play Store. You can find my stuff all over the place too. So if you like country music. Which now is the only way my album is available. I've sold out of all of my physical copies. I have the only physical copy I have left is my personal one. Well, and somewhere in my garage there's a box with I think 5 or 6 that were left over that I finished funding the album through Kickstarter, and I did so by pre-selling stuff, and some people who pre-bought had ordered to pre-buy the version that was autographed by all the people involved in making the album. Their payments bounced or were denied, and so I never sent them to them, and they never made good on the payments, so I've still got their signed copies. So out in the garage somewhere is a box that has like 5 signed copies of the album. 5 or 6 are still in there, and my signature's not the important one on there. The important signature on it is the guy who played the drums on all my tracks, which is Troy Lucetta, who is the drummer for the band Tesla, which was so amazing to work with him. He's a good friend of mine. So amazing to work with somebody of that caliber. Just it's insane. I mean, we're talking about, you know, a world famous rock star, and such a down to earth sweetheart of a guy. Anyhow, I've ran well over my time at this point. Just enjoying sitting here hanging out with you guys. You guys go hang out. Brian is streaming, and so everybody go hang out with Brian. Thanks for joining me today for my very first Tutorial Tuesday. I hope I taught you guys something. If you like the content, like, subscribe, all that good stuff, and spread the word. And if you ever need to design yourself a hinge in Blender, come on back and watch the first 30 minutes or so of this video again, and it will show you how to do it. So I will pop in over on Brian's stream. I got a couple things I got to go do as soon as I get off here, and then I will hop in over on Brian's stream and join you guys and hanging out with Brian. We will see you all and see you Thursday. All right, later, guys. You're awesome. Stay awesome.